Gotcha. All right. Morning, everyone. Ooh, a little bit of, there we go. All right. Wonderful to be gathered here with you all today. I'm not going to be doing a ton of talking at this point. Y'all hear enough from me most of the time anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and open us with a quick word of prayer, and then I'm going to pass it over to the Comfort Dog team, and we're going to hear about their wonderful ministry stuff and the things that they do. So I invite you to please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, for this time together in which you have gathered us as your people in this place. Father, we thank you that you have given us this wonderful responsibility and invitation to join you on your work of ministry as you continue to reach out to everybody in the world around us, to everybody in all of creation, as you continue to call people to you. And Father, we thank you that you use us as your hands and feet to bring your comfort to them, that you invite us to share your love with those around us. And so, Father, I thank you for this congregation here. I thank you for the Comfort Dog team that has come from Cornerstone. And I just thank you for the ministries that you invite us all to. And I ask that you would keep us strong in those, that you would continue to encourage us towards service of one another, that you would continue to encourage us to love our neighbor as ourselves, and that you would bless our conversations today, that they would always be glorifying to you. All this we pray in the name of our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, and with that, I'm done. You guys are up.
Me not? Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm not used to talking to a microphone. It's kind of weird. Good morning. Thanks for having us here. My name is Nicole, and I am here with Jane and Linda, and some of you guys have met Magdalene in eternity already. Jane and Linda are actually the top dogs. So when a church gets a comfort dog, the top dog is basically in charge of everything. I'm just the tech-savvy one who made the PowerPoint, so I get to talk. But thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. So first slide that we have up there is just a picture of our two dogs, and those are actually their business cards. So if you didn't get one of those when you saw us coming in, grab one on your way out. They have links to the dogs. All the comfort dogs, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, have social media. They have Facebook, they have Instagram. So it's another way to reach communities. So, all right, we're ready for slide number 2. So Lutheran Church Charities, you guys have heard a little bit about it, but Lutheran Church Charities is in charge of the LCC Canine Comfort Dog Ministry, but that's just one of the ministries that Lutheran Church Charities has. They're based in Northbrook, Illinois, and this is their mission statement, which goes pretty well with the sermon today, I think. Their goal is to be there to share the mercy, compassion, presence, and proclamation of Jesus Christ to people who are suffering in need. LCC goes wherever they're asked to go. They never charge a fee, and they serve everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Missouri Synod Lutheran, if you're ELCA Lutheran, if you're not Lutheran, they're serving people in need. So, all right, we're ready for the next one. The LCC's got several ministries. The first one, disaster response, I think is what your head pastor said he was perhaps involved with in Alabama. These people go into areas after something like a flood or a tornado, and they help clean up. Sometimes the best thing you need is somebody just to get down there and help clean up. So that is one ministry that they run out of LCC. Next one is Hearts of Mercy and Compassion. This one works pretty hand in hand with the Comfort Dog Ministry. They go into, again, disaster situations, and they have these crosses. I should have put a picture up there of them. I don't know why I didn't. They have crosses that they send out that have hearts on them, and they have teams across churches across the country that actually make these crosses and these hearts, and they set them up kind of as a memorial, and people can sign them. And frequently they become a gathering spot for people who are missing those people who perhaps died in a tragic event. The Human Care Ministry is their newest ministry. They work with churches to help people in need, again, imagine that, but get things like maybe you've got a single mom that needs a car, or a pastor with a family that needs help doing a mission somewhere, so they kind of help coordinate some of that sort of stuff. And then the Canine Ministry, which is the one we are here to talk about and that we know the most of. The Canine Ministry started kind of as a response to Hurricane Katrina. They were some people who went down with a disaster response during Hurricane Katrina, and they saw that a lot of people were not willing to leave their houses without their pets. So they were on these little boats trying to rescue people, and they wouldn't go without their dogs. So they noticed that connection immediately that people had with their pets. So fast forward, somebody, and it's kind of weird, donated some dogs to Lutheran Church Charities. And they were trying to figure out what to do with these dogs, and they realized that when people see dogs, people start talking to dogs. And it is a bridge to have conversations about other more serious things that may be going on in their life. And that was the loose start of the Comfort Dog Ministry. So Comfort Dogs are, again, to bring the mercy, compassion, presence, and proclamation of Jesus Christ to people who are suffering in need. We talk all the time about the fact that these dogs are beautiful and great and wonderful, but it's really not about the dog. It's about the people that you're serving. The dog is just the doorway into the people you're serving. People are really happy when they see a dog, and they sit down and they start petting your dog, and then they start telling you things. It's amazing. So, like I said, it was launched in 2008. It's a human care ministry, and they choose all golden retrievers. So there's about 130 of them across the country. The number changes, obviously, as dogs come in and go out. They place them in churches, in a handful of schools as well, Lutheran schools. 27 states right now, and Iowa is one that does not have a dog. So you guys would be the Iowa dog if you get one. So a couple things to note. These are working dogs. They are not pets. They do live in a home, and when they have their vests off, yes, they are normal dogs, but they do have a lot of rules. They come with a lot of rules and a lot of responsibility. They participate in scheduled events every week, so our two dogs work on average 6 days a week, 2 things a day. And then they also get called for disaster response type deployments. So an example I can give you from our personal experience, we had Magdalene for not very long when Noah was the vicar at our church, and there was a shooting up in Maine. And we packed up the car and we drove to Maine with Magdalene, and there were 10 other dogs there. And we spent the week in that community visiting schools, first responders, community sites. They had a vigil site, meeting with those people and meeting them where they were at and just providing a little bit of hope and comfort. And that was kind of a special deployment because that was a kind of unchurched community up in Maine. And we feel like we planted some seeds. You never know this side of heaven, but we think some people definitely came to faith while we were there. So let's see. I just said all of that. Each dog has a Bible verse, so that's an important thing too. All the dogs have biblical names. You may have noticed Magdalene and Eternity, not your typical dog names. And each dog comes with a Bible verse and it's printed on their card, which is also another way that we start those conversations. I heard a couple times already today, Magdalene's kind of hard to say. It's a mouthful. So when you tell somebody, this is my dog Magdalene, they say Madeline. No, Magdalene. And I heard Linda say, yeah, like Mary Magdalene. And we just had a conversation with somebody about who Mary Magdalene was. So again, a really easy way to open a door to a conversation. So, and there we are. Magdalene's Bible verse is John 20, verse 17, 18. I'm not going to read it to you guys, but it's the story of Mary Magdalene seeing Jesus, being the first one to see the risen Christ. And Eternity has the easiest Bible verse of any comfort dog ever because everybody knows it. And we kind of felt like we deserved that because Magdalene's is like long and hard to remember. But everybody knows John 3:16. And it also is a really great way because people actually recognize it on their bandanas. I don't know if you saw, but they have their names, and it says on Eternity's John 3:16. So again, it starts that conversation. Okay, 130 comfort dogs, 27 states. I said all of that. Wow, I'm ahead of myself. Lutheran Church Charities does provide you all of your training and all of the support. So when we got these two dogs, they were both around 16, 17 months old. By the time we received them, they had 2,000 hours of training, and we continue to train with them every week. We try to. You have to do what they tell you, so there is that. They learned a lot of commands. The dogs know 35 or 40 commands each, and we try really hard as the humans not to mess them up because they know more than we do. And okay, so this I think will describe what we do better than I can. And if it's not going to work, I can keep going. I know he said he tried it yesterday and he got it working, but and it's hard because, so what it is, I can tell you about it for a couple minutes until see if he can get it or not, but it's a video of the FedEx shooting, which happened in Indianapolis, about 10 years ago. And there's a couple takeaways from it. It describes how the dogs went in and how they were received by the community, and the fact that part of the community at that FedEx facility, a big part of the community, was the Sikh community, so non-believers. But there was a little bit of hesitation, should we go in, not go in? And immediately, no, this is what we do. And there's some pretty moving pictures of people praying together and accepting each other for who they are and offering some comfort. And one of the biggest takeaways for us, because that was in Indianapolis, and this was long before we had a dog, but we still visit some of those same people 10 years later. So this is not a one and done, in and out. The relationships were formed and they're maintained and they continue. When there was the shootings in Uvalde, Texas, the Comfort Dog teams went down to Texas, and there's several Comfort Dog teams in Texas, and they continue to go back to that school year after year on the anniversary to visit with those families. Here we go. I think it's going to work.
We were in Indianapolis because of a man-made disaster that happened. The shooting of 8 people at the Federal Express building in Indianapolis. And we were there to bring comfort to a hurting community. I think this time was just a little different in the fact that this community really showed up. And we saw that throughout the Federal Express employees that showed up at this.
The Hearts of Mercy and Compassion were present at each vigil, and we saw multiple people lining up to sign those hearts. It was amazing how many people gravitated to those hearts. Because 4 of the victims were of the Sikh religion, we took the crossbars off of those crosses so that it would represent everyone, to represent each of the fallen employees.
So I think the fact that our dogs are just so still brings a stillness to people that are petting them. Our best tool in our toolbox is prayer. We offer that Christian hope in those times of need. The fact that we are Christian and we offer that hope and that light that only Jesus can bring, with the calming effect of our dogs, is the mission and the ministry that we do.
I watched him pray with a group of Sikh men. He had his arms around them and they were all in a circle. And I'll tell you, it was so moving. And that's what it's all about. It's showing our love and compassion for other people, regardless of race, creed, any religion. We're just people in this world and it's so torn apart. People just need to know that there's others who care about them.
We are called in the Bible to, it's rejoice with people that are rejoicing and weep with people that are weeping. It doesn't say go do this with other Christians. It says go and do this with people. Go be with people. And so our goal is to go out into the community and show people we love them. And you don't show people you love them by watching them on the news and going, that's really sad, I'll pray for you way over here, and then forget about you in 2 minutes. Yeah. As we say, as part of the Comfort Dog Ministry, it's not about the dog. The point is the interaction you're having with people. So you're using those things as bridges to help the people.
We go into communities where there's been a tragedy that not only affects the victims and their families, but it affects the entire community. Press was all around the facility, and they have a hard job. So we offered comfort to them. They appreciated that. They love our dogs.
We were in a hotel lobby, and the Comfort Dogs were there, and we had some in a courtyard because that was the location that the families of those that had passed away were staying for counseling and other reasons. There was a lady there that came up to talk to some of the folks with dogs, and she comes up and she starts talking, and she does not like dogs, but her team likes dogs, and her team happens to be the coroner's office, Marion County, and she would like a visit. And we actually ended up going to the coroner's office multiple times. But if we were doing a really fast turnaround of we're only going to be here 2 or 3 days, we couldn't have done it. And then hopefully this can be a connection for Naomi locally in Indianapolis moving forward in the future, because their job doesn't get any easier. One of the folks that passed away was a 19-year-old that worked as a lifeguard, and we were able to go there and be with other young folks.
When we realized that we were going to visit Indy Island Water Park, where one of the victims had also been employed, we felt that it would be really beneficial for them to have one of those hearts. This was really something that they're not used to grieving, someone their own age.
There was one gentleman that was there, and he sat for a really long time with the dogs and was just petting the dogs and petting the dogs and petting the dogs. And he gave him an opportunity to just kind of talk. And it felt like he hadn't really been talking to anyone about anything. You know, he'd been just kind of holding all of his feelings about everything inside. And then he just had some people that were just there to listen. You know, and we weren't going to judge him. The dogs aren't going to judge him. And so it gave him that opportunity just to sit and talk. And he was there with us for maybe an hour.
I think we all believe in our mission to bring the mercy, compassion, presence, and proclamation of Jesus Christ to those that are hurting and in need. And I think we never lose sight of that mission. There is no other organization really that is a Christian organization that we've run into with dogs that offer that type of hope to people. I want to just thank everyone that donates to our deployments and donates to LCC in whatever way they can. It means so much to us, and it allows us to be out with people and to put paws and boots on the ground within 24 hours of a disaster. We couldn't do it without all of you. You are a part of this mission.
So obviously that was a fundraising video for them, but I think it gives the picture a lot better than I can of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And they talked about Naomi Comfort Dog in that video. Naomi was an Indianapolis-based dog who passed away 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And some of those places that she made connections with during that time, which was before Magdalene was even born, we still visit. We still go to the Marion County Coroner. The water park where the lifeguard was is part of the city of Plainfield. We go out there and visit all their city employees. That actually got them to start a wellness initiative for all their employees, and we visit them twice a month. So it's definitely something that is ongoing and gets you out of the walls of this building. So this is kind of small and hard to see, but for us, for our two dogs, and I'm going to tell you that June is probably the slowest month of the year for us because there's not a lot of youth things going on in June. These are the visits that we did. Eternity did 24 visits and Magdalene did 26 visits. So if you put those together, and you can kind of see on here They're sort of divided up, and I think the next slide maybe shows it better. This is the whole year. So you can kind of see the graph. There's some slower months and some bigger months. But let's flip to the next one. These are the kinds of places that we visit in our community. So the disaster deployments, they happen, but they don't happen all the time. So when they're not happening, hospitals, homeless shelters, rehab centers, addiction and recovery facilities, nursing homes, police and fire departments, the 911 call center, the coroner's office, the city, the Indiana Donor Network, which is people who have had somebody pass away who's donated organs, the I Belong Project, which is helping kids get adopted, the Salvation Army, veterans facilities and programming, the Department of Family and Children, Lutheran Child and Family Services, foster care agencies, after-school programs, government and community agencies, schools, preschools, and of course, the dogs always go to church on Sunday, so church services. It's a lot of stuff, and you can see why we got a second dog, because it's this, wow, that didn't go out very well. So just from January of this year to June of this year, these would be our totals. So 46 church services, 28 church activities. That would be things like we have an Oktoberfest celebration, maybe Sunday school, back to school night, that kind of stuff. Nursing home visits, 68. Hospital visits, 22. Police, fire, government agencies, 52. Preschool, school visits, 11. Youth programs, 53. Social services, 56. 2 funerals, and 2 comfort dog events. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of chances to spread the love of Jesus. So that actually is 361 visits. I did the math. So we go out in twos because it's better to go in twos and not be by yourself. And I think there's some really good Bible verses about 2 are better than 1. But 2 volunteers, 722 hours times 2 is 1,444 hours and half a year, spreading the love of Jesus to the community. It's a lot. The other thing that's not on there is we do, they're called emergency site visits. So those would be more of a local disaster response. So examples of that would be, we went to a high school where a student had committed suicide, and they knew of the comfort dogs, and we were there for the day to comfort the students and the teachers, things along those lines. And those things, unfortunately, happen more and more and more. But the community has learned that we're a resource for them and that we can go in. And what's amazing to us is those are public schools that are calling us, not just Lutheran schools or Christian schools. And we are getting to the doors of public schools, and they're allowing us most of the time to hand out our business cards that have Bible verses on them, to hand out stickers that have Bible verses on them, and coloring books, and plant those seeds. So, ministry moments. Now's when we get to tell you a couple of our favorite stories, and I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to let you guys each tell one. But if you can go back like 2 slides, there was a picture of a little girl hugging the dog. Right there. So this is baby P. She was a foster child in an agency that we work with. That's a Christian-based foster care agency. And we met baby P when she was literally a baby, and her name was like Fedora, but it was spelled with a P. And her name is now Olivia. But we know her as baby P, so we're going to stick with that. So this is a picture of her on her adoption day. She became so close with our team and with Magdalene, because we visit their foster care events every month, that she learned to stand by holding on to Magdalene. So we have pictures of her as a baby pushing up and learning to stand with Magdalene. She'd often come to events and they feed the kids first, and we would be there kind of as their greeters. She'd never eat because she just wanted to see the dogs. But for her adoption day, she actually invited Magdalene to come share that special moment with her, which to us was pretty special. Now, on the flip side, that's the fun stuff. With this same foster care agency, Magdalene also went with a family, well, with some kids and a caseworker on a day when they were telling them that their sister had died and mom was in jail. And she was there probably that day more as a support to that caseworker, because the kids were little and really didn't understand what was going on. They petted the dog, whatever, but you could see the caseworker petting the dogs, letting out that stress. So lots of different ways that a single agency were supporting them and helping them with things. So do either of you have a great ministry moment stories? We have so many.
I'm going to tell a Nicole story. I'm Jane, by the way, and thanks again for having us. When we were deployed to Maine, Nicole mentioned that it was a pretty much unchurched community, and we were invited to one of the victims' daughter's 16th birthday party, and it was held in the bottom, I think, of the police station or a community center. Anyway, there was a lady there, and we were there. We had multiple dogs, and there was a lady there that sat down, and she professed to be an atheist, and, you know, Christians were just, you know, hypocrites, blah, blah, blah. And Nicole just sat there patiently listening, and she was petting Magdalene, on and on. And then later that morning, she came up and she said, I've never met a Christian that actually listened to me. She said, I'm going to have to rethink all this. So that is very impactful. And it's just amazing when you get out of your church walls, the things that you experience and the things that you see, and just the calm that the dogs can bring to people who are, you know, hurting. We also, LCFS, Lutheran Church, or Lutheran Child and Family Services is in our city, and they primarily serve girls who are trafficked and trafficked victims. So we're down there twice a month with both dogs, and those girls just lay on the floor with the dogs. One time we were there when they had an admission, and the girl was being really belligerent. And we brought the dog over, and she sat and just petted Magdalene, and pretty soon she allowed the caseworkers to, you know, talk to her and get her settled in. So they really, really bring impact. And I just can't emphasize enough that the folks on our team, we have 10 handlers, 15 handlers actually for 2 dogs, and then we have ministry partners, and we have a number of them. But the impact that it has on each of us in our Christian walk is amazing. And to a person, they would tell you that they've grown as a Christian because of the work that we do. You want to share, Linda? Do you want to hear another story?
A big thing that we are continually focusing on talking about is when we take the dogs out, that we're there to listen. We try not to talk much. Sometimes that's hard because we love to tell everybody how great these dogs are. But we're there to listen so people can feel like they can talk and somebody cares. So we were down at the Department of Child Services, which in Indiana is the state agency that serves the children and families that are in trouble. And we had done our big complex for the government. And we were done. The dogs were taking a break during their hurry up, which is when they go to the bathroom. And our ministry partner, and we have, all us handlers are trained to handle the dogs, but we have a whole slew of people who go with us that don't handle the dogs, but they reach out to people beyond us. So our ministry partner went to speak with a woman who was sitting on the steps in front of DCS, clearly was struggling. And pretty soon, Lois says to us, hey, bring the dogs over here. So we took the dogs over, and this lady was sitting there with a bottle of some kind of liquor between her legs. She clearly was struggling with life, and she petted the dogs, and we stayed quite a while with her. And we prayed with her. She was willing to pray with us, so we could pray for her with her. And she got all done, and she said, I suppose now you want to hear my story. And we said, well, if you want to tell us your story, that's great, but we're just here to be here with you. We'll listen. Whatever you want to talk about, that's what we're here for. And she never did tell us her story. I'm sure it was a tough story to hear, but it was just, she was so thankful that we took the time, didn't force her into anything. We weren't there to evangelize her. We were just there to share Jesus' love and comfort that she could get from these dogs. So it is an amazing ministry. Those don't happen all the time. You might some days go out and you know you've touched somebody, but it's not big like that. But then there's the big days that you really think, wow, this is a big deal what we're doing.
Okay, I'm going to tell one more just because you reminded me of it, because it goes right with that. We go to a women's shelter, Wheeler Women's Shelter, and you have to follow rules to live in the shelter, and there's an area right across the street with the parking lot where there's a picnic table. And I might have been with you, we try to go out with a ministry partner, but sometimes that doesn't work, so 2 handlers go out together. And we took the dog over to where the ladies were sitting at the picnic table, knowing that these are the women who need help but aren't ready to get help. And I was handling the dog, and there were cigarettes all over the floor. I was just basically focused on trying to let the dog not eat anything she shouldn't eat on the ground. And the ministry partner who's with me was just chatting with the ladies, normal conversation. We left, and we said, they've got it tough. I'm glad we went over, but didn't think really much of it. Fast forward 2 weeks, I go back, and one of the ladies that was at the picnic table was now inside. And talking to her inside, and she's petting the dog, and she says, I saw you a couple weeks ago take the dogs inside, and you guys came over and spent a little bit of time with us outside, and your ministry partner was talking to me and encouraged me to go inside and check it out, and you know what? She was right. So without that little visit that I was just worried about the cigarette butts, she may not have ever made it inside. So those are our ministry moments. Questions? Now's a good time for questions. And I want to go backwards too and say 15 handlers. If you're getting 1 dog, 10 handlers for the dog. The dogs do live in a home. So there's a primary caregiver. If that primary caregiver goes on vacation, there is a backup caregiver. So you're not responsible for the dog all the time. You're not tied. These dogs actually both live with me, so I am the lucky winner of awesome house guests. But I go away a lot, and they go to their backup houses, and they're just fine, and you don't have to worry about that. Ministry partners as well, but also a team to do social media. You have a team who writes letters. We respond to letters. So there's lots of different ways that you can be involved if being a handler or a ministry partner isn't something that's going to work for you. This picture here was 2 weeks ago. Well, no, last weekend. We hosted the Regional Comfort Dog Conference at our church, and this was our dogs post in front of the thing, and that would be the other big thing. It's nice to be involved in a national ministry that's also a local ministry because you are part of something much bigger than your community.
Any questions?
Thank you. This was really informative, and I have a total different vision about what this is. And this is more of a comment, but you can help me find an answer. First of all, how many times in a week do you go out by yourself, or how many times do you go out with a group of 10 people, for example?
So we never go out by ourselves, ever. And we rarely go out with 10 people. We're almost always in groups of 2. And sometimes a group of 3, depending on where we're going. But there's always a handler and a ministry partner. The handler's job is the dog. The ministry partners aren't trained to handle the dog. The ministry partner's job is talking to the people. That's not to say the handlers don't talk to the people, but we try to encourage the ministry partners to lead the conversations.
So as I understand it, which is different than what I thought before, is that if we were interested in getting a dog, it's not about having a dog for us. It's about an outreach ministry program that might involve as many as 20 or 30 people from our church doing this ministry, and the dog is the focus, the conversation starter, if you will, and stuff like that.
You are correct. We like to say the dog is the bridge. And I would say the 8 to 10 handlers is, I honestly believe they say 10 handlers, but almost everybody, when you talk to them, it ends up being closer to 8. So 10's the goal. And the ministry partners, the beauty of that job is the commitment's not as big. So we have ministry partners that are snowbirds that are ministry partners in the summer, and they disappear and go to Florida in the winter, and then they come back and they're ministry partners again. So, yeah. But it's definitely a outside of your church walls ministry. Not to say that our church doesn't enjoy the dog and get the dog scheduled for church events, but it's more about outreach for sure.
I think Greg was first, and then I'll come back. Okay, or he's letting you.
You talk about the dog training. What about the training for you as handlers and counselors?
Absolutely. So the dogs are trained at Lutheran Church Charities from the times they're 8 weeks old, so 2,000 hours there. The team of handlers goes up to Northbrook, Illinois when they get their dog, and they spend 3 days being trained on how to take care of the dog. Take care of the dog, take the dog out, whatever. The Training to speak to people is ongoing. Some of it's provided by Lutheran Charities, some of it's been provided by our top dogs. So each team has a top dog. These are our 2 top dogs right here. The top dogs, we have team meetings. We work on ways to start conversations, appropriate things to say, not to say. We are definitely not counselors. We're not there to solve problems, fix problems. If we identify something crazy, we're always at somewhere where, okay, you're the counselor at Lutheran Child and Family Services. You need to know that this child just told me whatever. It's not my job to fix it. So, but ongoing training, always.
Once we spent 3 days at Northbrook training, then we come home with the dog who's not going out in the community for another 4 to 6 weeks. And you're training for that period of time in the community, but not officially. And then LCC comes back down, and then they officially commission the dog and the handlers into service. So we were sending videos, like 3 videos a week per handler. No, 2 times a day, 2 times a week, 3 videos each time back to LCC, and they were critiquing us on the handling. The other thing I would add is, I don't know if you've heard of spiritual first aid, but it's a course that all of us go through as handlers and ministry partners, and that really teaches you about people in crisis and how to approach them and deal with them.
So many things, I forgot about that.
I have a question, and I did come in late, so you may have covered this. How do you cultivate the contacts in the community? How do we go about doing that so that we know where the need is?
That's a great question. So we had, I'm going to go backwards because this goes with that. The process of getting a dog is unfortunately long because they can only train so many dogs at a time. So while you're building your team and waiting for your dog, we had a community engagement person who was going out in the community, talking to people, telling them, hey, we're going to get this dog, and this is the kind of thing we can do with the dog. And that led to contacts. The list is always growing for us. I would say when we started, the dog was not going out twice a day, 6 days a week, because we didn't have that many places to go. But the more you're out, the more you're seen, the more you're visible, the more somebody says, hey, have you met the comfort dog? Then all of a sudden you're going somewhere else. But definitely it was using those contacts from the community engagement person and your congregation. It's when you start looking and all of a sudden you find out, oh, well, this person's a police officer, this person's a firefighter, this person works at a counseling agency, and then all of a sudden you've got a whole list of places that you can't get to everywhere you want to go. Yep. You have a question?
Can we pet the dogs again after church or something?
Yes, you can pet the dog right now if you want. Honestly, they're fine. But yes, the dogs will be here after church and before church to pet, yes. And our dogs do go to church at one of our sites every Sunday, so they're always around to be petted. That's their job, and they love it. You're welcome. Anybody else?
I just wanted to know how you identify yourself in the community. So when you say you identify yourself as your church and your comfort dog, or who do they know you as?
Probably both, but so we always wear branded clothing. So and it's like a dual thing, right? We are Lutheran Church Charities Comfort Dog, but we are from Cornerstone Lutheran Church. And I would say in our community, they probably know us as Cornerstone Lutheran Church's Comfort Dogs, Magdalene and Eternity. The Lutheran Church Charities thing is more of a national thing.
Thank you. This was really cool. You did a good job talking about the time commitment and the people commitment. I'm just, what other commitments? What does the support look like? Is there support back to LCC? Is there what happens with that?
That's a top-up question.
So the local congregation supports the dog or dogs that are in that congregation. We have like an annual fee of, I don't know, it's less than $100 or something, just for them to do their paperwork. Of course, there's a fee when you get the dog. And then after that, they do require, or request heavily that, that the handlers and ministry partners, as many as can go to the national conference. And that's held every other year. And that's in Northbrook. And then the off years, there's regional conferences. So whatever region you would be in, you would go to that conference. And that's basically it. They do provide a lot of background support, so to speak. Spiritual first aid, they pay for all of that. That's free. And then they track the health of the dogs in terms of their behavior. So they have to check the dogs off every year. That's why there's a conference every year, to make sure they're behaving, because they get good citizenship award. And then, of course, all their AKC papers and all that type of thing. Whenever you go in a facility, many of them require all that, and their vaccinations up to date. You are required to find your own veterinarian. We're fortunate we have a couple in our congregation that see our dogs for free. So that's very helpful. And so that would be another expense. Did you have any other question on expenses? Food, oh yeah, so the church does provide food and all of that. We have some members that designate their contribution to the Comfort Dog Ministry. So it's a designated account within our church. And then we have, some fairly big donors. We had a donor for Magdalene, and then when we got Eternity, we had a donor who donated the cost to get her in honor and memory of his wife. So, yeah.
There are other Comfort Dog teams across the country that you see do some fundraising for additional funds. So they'll do things like a Comfort Dog pancake breakfast or whatever, and all the proceeds go to the Comfort Dog Fund. So there's a lot of, when you start looking at the different teams, there's a lot of sharing and creative ways to get what you need.
So just from like a possibility for the King of Kings side, the cost for the dog itself is $20,000, but that's split up for when you apply and then when you get the dog. And then when we did the math, the ongoing cost for us to have one here at King of Kings would probably be around $3,000 to $4,000 a year. So just from, if we decide to do one here at King of Kings, that would kind of be the breakdown of the cost. If we do decide to do that, we will also do more informational stuff and share more on those details as well. But just general, that kind of would be the King of Kings side of things, if that's where we decide to go. Okay, any other questions?
Two questions. If we had a dog, how many handlers would you need to take care of the dog? And the other thing is, what's the service life of the dog? I mean, how many years
Great question.
commitment is that?
Yep. So the way LCC has it structured, they're hoping you have 10 handlers, and the commitment for a handler is 2 years. And after that 2 years, if you're moving on and don't want to be a handler, they will allow you to send up people to be replacement handlers. So you can have kind of a revolving door to an extent. They ask for that 2 years because a lot of time and training goes into training those handlers. The commitment for the primary caregiver is supposed to be life of the dog, but we also understand that things happen. So if something happens, we have seen dogs where the primary caregiver has changed. The backup caregiver, I believe, is also supposed to be life of the dog because it's about the relationships. But again, the same thing, stuff happens. Magdalene's backup caregiver is not the same backup caregiver that she had when we started because life happens and we adjusted and we found a new backup caregiver. As far as how long the dog stays in service, that becomes a decision between the top dog, the primary caregiver, and the vet based on how the dog is doing. Health-wise, we see with some of the dogs across the country that we've gotten to know, some that are serving until the day they go. And we see others where they start to kind of back off as they get older. It just depends on the dog and the health of the dog and how they're doing. I'd say one other thing that kind of goes with that with your handlers, The commitment for the handlers being 2 years, they're also asking for 3 to 5 hours a week because they want you to do ideally 1 visit with a dog and 1 training session with a dog. So if you would do both of those, you're going to get to 5 hours pretty quickly by the time you pick up the dog, drive to where you're going to visit, do your visit, take the dog, and give the dog a paycheck. The dogs get a paycheck after every visit. Their paycheck is something like playing with a ball, getting a massage. These dogs don't get treats at all. Their treat is being petted, and their treat is their paycheck. So they love when that vest comes off and they get to GOPLAY. I'm not going to say it out loud because they would pop up. They love that. So by the time you add all that in, you're going to get to your 3 to 5 hours pretty quickly.
No question here, but I have to say, being a retiree of the Center for Disabilities and Development at the University of Iowa, I saw 2 comfort dogs that visited our facility on a regular scheduled basis, and they did some amazing work with children and even adults with disabilities. I applaud you, and I think you're great. Thank you.
Thank you. We, all of us, like Jane said, have grown considerably doing this, and we will have had Magdalene for 4 years in February, and the amount of people who know our dogs and love our dogs now is kind of amazing. So.
And, so how many dogs are in this area through the Lutheran Church Charities?
0. You do not have any dogs in Iowa right now, I don't think.
Okay.
So the closest dogs to you are going to be in Illinois. There are a lot of dogs in Illinois because that's where Lutheran Church Charities is.
So if it's something our church would be interested in, it may be something we could work with other churches in the area to split costs and handlers. So that's something to consider also, I think.
We have talked to some people who have smaller churches where they've done that. And handlers do not necessarily have to be from your church. That's not an LCC rule. They just need to have a faith-based life.
Is there a vetting process for the human? Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Yes, there is a vetting process for the human, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you. You fill out the worst application you're ever going to fill out because Lutheran Church Charities computer system is so antiquated, it takes forever. You start typing your answer, and the words don't appear. So that would probably be everybody's biggest complaint about LCC is their computer system. But yeah, there's an application process and an interview process. We did have somebody we thought was going to be a great handler, and they said no. And in hindsight, they were probably right. They know what they're looking for. Yeah, and they have a couple of physical requirements. You need to be able to get up and down off the floor because you find yourself on the floor a lot with a dog. And these dogs, they are trained really, really well, but I'm going to be 100% honest with Eternity, who's the one that's just turned 2. If she sees something that's really interesting, she very well might try to yank you that way. And you got to be strong enough to not be yanked down. So.
I might say, yes, they say you need to be able to get all down and up off the floor. I do get on the floor sometimes, but it's not easy at times, and it's okay if you bend over. And you'll see videos where they were saying, yeah, it's okay if you bend over. So don't feel like oh gosh, I don't want to get up and down that you can't do this. I think you probably can. So I don't want to discourage anyone from that.
I don't want to scare anyone.
Okay. We have time for one more question.
I just had a really quick question. If a husband and wife were interested in being a handler and a ministry partner, can you choose who you're paired with, or do you get assigned?
Every church does it differently. So for us, our handlers, we have this crazy spreadsheet with all the available visits, and people can go into the spreadsheet, and I'm a handler and I sign up on the handler side, and ministry partners go in and sign up on the ministry partners side. We do have several handlers whose spouses are ministry partners, and they go out together because they want to. And then we have some who are ministry partners and handlers, and they don't go out together because they don't want to. So, yeah, and we also have husbands and wives that are both handlers and husbands and wives that are both ministry partners. The biggest thing, too, as far as primary caregivers and secondary caregivers, both of those people have to be handlers, both of the husband and wife, if there's 2 adults in the house, because you need to follow the commands in the house.
There we go. Okay, well, we'll go ahead, start wrapping up. Again, they'll be around before the 10:45 and after for you to just pet the dogs or ask any questions. And as we're looking at this as a possibility for King of Kings, if you have any questions or interest in stuff, feel free to reach out to me or even any of the pastors. They are both very on board and know about the same as I do about it. So if you have any questions or interested about what involvement could look like, feel free to reach out. And again, want to thank the Cornerstone Comfort Dog team for coming out. So we'll go ahead, close in a prayer, and yeah, okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the ministry that you provide for us in the different ways that looks like, whether that's church on Sundays or comfort dogs. We're all called to comfort your people and to share your love with them. And so I just pray you bless Cornerstone and their ministries that they're doing, and also just guide us here at King of Kings and what that could possibly look for us and the ministry opportunities that could provide of going outside of our doors. And I just pray that you give guidance on that. In your name we pray. Amen. So, yeah, feel free to interact. And there's for kids stickers. Yes.